With this, we will move to the next keynote, which will, sorry, we got a fireside chat next. And this will be moderated by Mr. Shrikant Srinivasan, who is the Vice President and Head Membership and Outreach at NASCOM. He will be joined by Mr. J. Vijayan, who is the founder and CEO at Techion Group. Can I request Shrikant to take over the stage, please?
Thank you. Thank you for the introductions. And Jay, thank you very much for accepting and being part of NASCOM NASTech 2021. Good to have you and a pleasure to host you today. As we said, this whole revolution about this Indian automotive industry, and more so in current times, I think the pandemic has disrupted a lot. So we thought we will use this opportunity to kind of talk to you, seek from you, what is that you have thought about and what are the changes that's coming about in this industry. The first thing is, I thought we should probably talk a little about what's the overall disruption in the industry, and then maybe also touch upon the various technical disruptions, the technological disruptions that have come into the whole play, right? And I know you people have made fantastic progress over the last few years. I think you've got a very envious list of partners, envious list of brands. I mean, even the most premium brands are there on your platform. So thought we'll kind of, try to understand a little more from you. What we've done is, Jay, I think we've got a lot of questions from the audience and the people who registered for the program and from a few other people. So we've kind of structured this, and if it's okay with you, maybe I'll try and go with in a question format, if that's okay with you.
Absolutely. Yes, Shrikant, first of all, thank you. It's a pleasure being here. I appreciate you and the NASCOM team for inviting me and having this opportunity to have this conversation with you.
Thank you. Thank you, Jay.
Absolutely fine with me.
Thank you. So Jay, first and foremost, I think maybe we can start off with briefly to understand what are your early comments on saying how the global automotive retail market is going to be in general. You could probably cover it across the globe. And if there's anything that you want to give any examples from an Indian context, how the whole DMS piece is revolutionizing.
Yeah, absolutely. So the automotive industry itself has, I think all of us know this, evolving very, very fast, especially in the last decade. A lot of, I would say, innovation, a lot of progress, massive amount of investments from some of the biggest brand names, right, globally. And I think there is definitely a few companies that really spearheading some of these innovation, right, globally. So a lot of things are happening. One is on the EV, for sure, all of us know, significant amount of investments on EV, everything from batteries to solid state to many other things are happening. Then the autonomous vehicles itself, significant amount of innovation is happening. Very encouraging to see that globally. Now, coming to the automotive retail, which is specifically what we all are consumers in our day-to-day life, how do we, approach? How do we shop? I feel there is a lot of opportunity to really transform that experience. So what I mean by that is, in today's world, as you know, we have a great e-commerce experience when we buy things in Flipkart or on Amazon. So there are many e-commerce experiences. Even Apple is a great e-commerce experience to go buy, order your phone online. Or but in an automotive world, still it's not even close there, right? So automotive car buying experience still significantly behind in terms of everything from a documentation. It's a very arduous process, especially when you want to buy a new car. The experience is not great. I feel there is a lot of opportunity globally that to be changing. So now if you think about the India market, I think there's a lot to be done. Still, there are a few areas, some changes are happening, like, touchless service to some extent, but again, there's a long way to go, I believe. Used car, things are moving much faster. There are online, providers that are trying to do that globally in the US as well as in India. But there is still a lot to happen to bring all of these together, primarily in the new car purchase, service, and customer engagement experience. So these are, I would say, the important areas globally. There needs to be a significant amount of change that can happen, and there is still opportunity to do so.
Absolutely. Sure. Thank you. No, absolutely. I think this is an opportunity which is probably ever growing, right? I mean, it's and ever evolving too. Absolutely. Uh, so maybe, I mean, I want to seek your thoughts on saying, I mean, last 18, 20 months has been extremely different, right? I mean, from what it was before. Um, Everybody talked about the initial days when the whole demand was probably going down. And then there came a news that, the demand is now going up, because people said that initially people said, I'm not going to buy because I have nothing else to do but sit at home. But then suddenly people said, no, I'll have to go, but I also want to be safe, and hence I would use my own transportation, right? So I think the market kind of went in a kind of a sine curve. So how do you kind of, talk about and describe this whole pandemic impact on the overall demand cycle of the industry?
Yeah. Important, it's a timely question, and you kind of answered some part of it in terms of how the market, how we all approached it, and then how the industry approached it. You're absolutely right. When the pandemic started in early 2020, there was definitely a shock across all industries. Everything went to a freeze. Factories were closed down, and shops were closed. And then after that, the revival started pretty quick. Like you said, especially the US market, the automotive sales have been significant. When I say sales, not just in the numbers, of course, numbers, we have two sides of it. Okay, so one, the demand has significantly increased. Like you said, people wanted to drive their own personal car to be more safe and secure. So there is both used car purchase has been going up significantly, and there is also the new car purchase and margins have gone significantly. People are ready to pay premium because the inventories have been very, very low. And because the inventories were low because the supply chain impact globally, and we all know about, it's a public news for quite some time. People have been trying to solve it, the chip shortage, right? Again, it's all it's a chain reaction to multiple things. Because of the pandemic, there is a supply chain, and then there is factories couldn't produce enough. And then because the factories couldn't produce enough, then of course the number of chips that could go into cars, and cars couldn't be produced enough. And then it became an inventory shortage, but that created a lot more demand, and the margins are very high. And I think the profits have been great. I mean, I'm sure you've seen that globally. Both dealerships as well as OEMs have been making pretty good amount of margins and good amount of money. So that's going really well. But what I believe will, over a period of time, that will happen is the inventories will slowly, because people have to catch up. It's a natural cycle where the OEMs are trying to do their best to get the inventories to the level where they want it to be, which will have a small correction in the industry some point, I believe, in 2022, sometimes in Q3, Q4. I think there will be a good amount of catch up, and there will be a small correction, and then things probably will either settle down or the correction might be a little bit deeper. But I feel that's kind of the trend. I see how things will be happening globally. From a people perspective, I think the usage of personal cars will continue to be at the level of demand where we are today, how things are. But since the supply will be more, then I think that could probably meet each other. So the prices might come down further in sometime in Q3. So that's kind of how I feel things might move.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Sure.
This is interesting, actually. You're saying that prices will go down. That's interesting. I mean, prices may go down. That's because I think you feel that the supply will far outstrip the demand, and hence.
At some point, yeah, it may take another year from now, because it's not easy, as you know. It's the effect of producing enough everything, all the supply chips to everything, and then the number of vehicles to go up. It may take a year. That's why I feel since these things will happen over a period of time. Yeah. I don't believe the impact is going to be huge, but I feel the number of vehicles may continue to be the same or more, but the margins may come down because you have more than enough supply, or maybe enough supply, and then some good amount of demand as well.
Okay, interesting. And hopefully customers are spoiled for choice. Hopefully.
Yeah. Right.
And if indeed that is there, it's going to be good. I mean, moving on, everything. I mean, how do you look at the whole this whole unified approach that you're talking about, right? You're talking about a model where it's a single platform where people can buy, people can service, you're also now talking of used vehicle sale and so on and so forth. how do you think this unified approach is going to actually, impact the larger retail ecosystem? Because typically most of, across the world, people are used to this whole model of, you kind of doing your homework right, and then going to the right place, getting what you want, and then depending on that particular person for support, parts, etc., for the rest of your life, or as long as you use that vehicle. But how do you think that this is going to revolutionize? This kind of a platform approach is going to revolutionize it. And if I may add that, there is also this whole model where some people do multi-brand retail. So how do you kind of, manage this whole thing of, the data that's going to be there, reside with them, customer data that's going to reside with them, and there is no kind of conflict?
Right. Yeah, I think there are the macro view. I believe there is a need to bring the three key stakeholders in this ecosystem, which is the manufacturers, the retailers, right, which is to most part it's dealers, and the consumers, all to seamlessly come together in one technology platform. And today the fragmentation is very high. We talked about that. Because many times, if you see the experience itself, that shows in the buying experience. So you don't have a good way, like you said, there are third-party websites, there are dealerships you can go shop around. And then many times you're not even connected to your brand. There's no single way. The transparency is very less. Because if you think about, right, in today's world, people are ready to pay the right amount, or many times even pay a premium if they feel they have the control. So basically, easiest example for all of us is now everything has come up. iPhone is a great example, right? You pay maybe in, I don't know the current price today in Indian rupees, you probably pay at least 1 lakh for an iPhone, I guess, or more, which never would be the case 10 years ago, right? No one would pay that much money for a phone. But people are ready to pay because one is the product and second is the transparency, because it's pretty easy for them to see the price and everything and accessories, they're ready to pay the premium. So when you get that level of transparency, the level of convenience, and put consumers in control, they're ready to pay. Whatever amount it takes, doesn't matter, they pay. That's why you see Apple is whatever it is, $2 trillion company, and Amazon is where it is today, and all of the global companies are growing. So I think that needs to happen in the automotive industry, where the consumers need to feel they have the choice and they're in control. And what I believe is lacking is that technology platform that could enable this for the stakeholders in the ecosystem. That I feel is a significant amount of fragmentation, because consumers are all over the different tools they go look at. There's no single place for them to do the transaction. And then when they come to a particular dealer, there is no real connection to OEM. The process also is extremely high friction process. So the way I would talk about this is the most important part of a vehicle buying, the enjoyable experience itself is the product, right? The car is the most enjoyable experience for anyone, right? If Srikanth, if you go buy a car with your family, the important part that you're most excited and your family is excited about is the product itself. But unfortunately, in today's world, the buying experience, you spend very less time in experiencing the product. You spend a lot more time in all other areas, price negotiation to document signing and searching for all kinds of copies of documents and everything. So, which all of these in today's world can be done digital, where you could spend more time in, really going through that enjoyable experience.
Oh, absolutely.
That I feel is where the necessity of a strong technology platform that could bring all of these together, make that whole experience seamless for consumers and for retailers and manufacturers to operate in a much simple and seamless way. I believe the win-win, there's a huge opportunity to do a win-win-win.
True. I think can't agree more. I think, like you said, right, today, I think the decision making is also not one person in the family, right? I mean, and people, and we see the way they advertise today, I think they actually attack the audience as something else, not probably the one who's signing the check, but other people in the family. So right. This whole thing has changed completely.
Yeah.
And probably children are making a bigger influence in the decision making today than anything else.
Yeah, right, exactly. So give them the experience, right? And then they make a good choice, right? Whatever that choice is, they will live with it.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think that way, I think probably you're also not only selling this generation, you're selling it to the next generation.
That is correct. Yes.
Very true. No, I mean, if I can move a little ahead and look at more from the platform that you're building perspective, just wanted to, I mean, I think we kind of, when we talked about your session, a lot of people came back and said it's more, it'd be very keen to understand how's the whole technology impact in this, right? I mean, how are you actually using this whole technology, especially all the emerging stuff? Because what you're actually depending on is one, the tech piece. Second is the large amount of data that you're getting, right? I mean, you're getting data from various sources, you're seeing how this data can be actually used, analytics, the AI behind it, how are you predicting basis the data on what are the possible things that one could buy, one should use, and so on and so forth. So maybe if you could throw some light on that, and if you can also touch upon the security aspect of it. I talked a little earlier on multi-brand retail and the security and the data and any conflicts. So how are you managing that piece?
Sounds good. Yeah, important part of today's we talked a little bit about the consumers. The important part of the way consumers expect today of like we talked about the next generation and the current generation, and most of us we know day in and day out in other parts of our life, as we talked about a little bit about e-commerce, other things that we purchase. So we see the difference, when you go to an e-commerce site, it remembers pretty much most of it, everything about you. Even if you shopped a year ago, after a year, when you first time log in, many times that doesn't happen. People log in from morning to evening. They do e-commerce shopping all the time. But even if you log in after a year, if you go to the site, it remembers your last, what did you do, your preferences and what you do and all of that, right? Of course, it's power of data and other things. And there is privacy. We'll talk about privacy and security. But the bottom line is it gives you a very good personalized experience. Yes. But when what happens is it gives you a stark difference when you go to a dealership today, for example, right, for servicing your car. And if you've been there for the 5th time you're going, but many times what happens is they still ask you again, like your name, your phone number, your email address. Sometimes it's annoying in today's world. They may not even know who you are. Of course, sometimes if the person is very good, they be nice with you, customer service and other things. If the person who's servicing is not great, then your experience is very, very poor. So basically what happens is for you in today's world, when you see, wow, okay, if online e-commerce site is able to remember everything about my preferences, when I go in person, I expect it to be much better than that. Yes. Person who's greeting should know who you are and what you know. So what happens in the automotive world is, because of so many fragmented systems, you shop in one system, you probably sometimes go browse for cars in one other system. The same store, when you do online, you do some pricing. When you go in person, they will probably quote you a slightly different price. Of course, they may give you a reason, but what happens? You lose trust. You right away like, oh man, come on, they're trying to take advantage of me, right? Sometimes it's true, sometimes it's not. So the issue there is you're losing the trust of the customer. Yes. So today's customer, you need to provide the trust and transparency. This is where the technology comes into picture. So if you have one solid technology platform that still seamlessly connects with other periphery systems, but it also brings the data together seamlessly about the customers to provide a personalized experience. So what does it give in addition to that? Today's customers need choice. What I mean by that is, when I say choice, not just in the choice of the product, choice of how they buy it, right? So you should be able to shop online in the convenience of your home, design, do everything and place an order for a car and get it delivered to your home. Or it's your choice where you could go do all of the shopping online, and then you can say, okay, I'm going to go through everything I want. I decide all of those, and I decide on the price as well, what it is and everything. You do even the price negotiation online. But when you go to the dealership in person, you decide. See, end of the day, it's your choice, because it's a big purchase. To many people, after home, car is the second biggest purchase. So many times they still, online purchase is percentage is very low compared to all other industries. Vehicle purchase, online purchase is very low. People like going in person. So when you go there, as I referred earlier, you spend more time on the enjoyable experience, which is the product. So you finish everything else from home, online. You even upload all of your documents securely in one place. And that way, everything is ready for you if you decide to go make the purchase. And then you go to the dealership where you spend majority of your time in experiencing the product. You enjoy it, you test drive, you take your family, your children, enjoy the product. Honestly, that elevates the experience. You end up even buying more. You buy more accessories, you buy service plan, all of those, but it should be your choice. And then the document signing can also happen digitally. If you made the decision, you can finish the signatures online and keep it secure. And once you make the final decision, you release it, right? So all of those can happen if you have a solid technology platform that connects everything, including sending your application to the bank online digitally. So if you do that, then it's a very pleasurable, simple, easy experience. You provide very transparent experience for customers. What the price they see online is the same price when you walk into the dealership. As I said earlier, customers are ready to pay more, ready to pay a premium if they see transparency, if they get the convenience, and if they get the best experience. So they themselves will choose all the accessories and everything. Of course, there are people who may not be able to afford certain things, which is okay. You should let them be what they want to do. And that is what we are solving, Srikanth, using our platform. We are still very early. There is a lot of, I would say, massive market globally that's out there. So we are still, we are moving as fast as we can. And that's the one that we are trying to solve across the globe, starting with the US.
Thank you. No, I agree with you. I think in every business, I think trust and transparency is I think the hallmark, right? I mean, it's the foremost thing that everybody looks at. Every customer wants these two things. Otherwise, you don't make any headway in the discussion.
Absolutely.
In fact, as a very logical thing, progression to the discussion, I wanted to touch upon the hyper-personalization piece that you talked about. I don't even know if it's hyper-personalization or even micro-personalization today, right? I mean, it's like you are trying to study the persona of the customer, the behavior, the trait, their past, behavior, etc., right? I mean, and many other things, right? The larger demographic from where they come, the family, who are the other influencers in the family, etc. So given all this, I think most of the decision making, as you said, is automated. But the other piece that I want to kind of touch upon here is in large buys like this, service also matters a lot. And today's service, it's not like earlier, right? When you would drive the vehicle into the service center and drop it there, or somebody picks it up. Today is this whole at-home service at your doorstep catching on, and how do you how do you think this is going to move?
Yeah. So I think, yes, there are not only for service, there are quite a few areas, of course, because of pandemic, people have tried it, and most of the time it works, right? They like to get a at-home service. I think that will slowly continue to increase. But at the same time, as I said, I believe the complete online experience for everything, I think it's going to take a very, very long time. In fact, I don't think people will move completely online at all. That's my view, because easiest example, again, we all could connect us. The reason why Apple still has stores, while it could sell all of its devices online, and people do buy, is because people want to experience. They still go to Apple Store. In fact, I was there in Apple Store this morning, with my son and with my wife. It's not that we don't have Apple products. We have a lot of Apple products, but we do still spend time. So people want to experience the products, and I believe that will continue to happen. And you touched about the hyper-personalization. So the hyper-personalization, I believe that's the future in today's, especially the next generation, the Gen Z or the millennials, even millennials, we are all used to convenience, making things easy for us, right? And that way you just go make the final choice. So I know there is a pretty good amount of changes that's happening globally about data privacy. And consumers should have the data privacy choice. So we are a very highly secure, highly compliant platform. So which is very important in today's world, because, for example, we are in the US and we are just moved to, we are expanding, I should say, globally, but we just started with Canada. After the US, we launched our first customer in Canada last month, and we'll continue to expand very quickly across the globe. But the privacy perspective here in California has a very good privacy act, which is called the CCPA, California Consumer Privacy Act. So which gives a pretty good level of data protection. And it's very similar to GDPR, which you probably are familiar in Europe. And I think every country is coming up with its own data privacy laws, and platforms should comply. What happens with good privacy laws is consumers, again, have good control. If they decide, so I don't want my data, if they say, I don't care about hyper-personalization, I just don't want my data to be, stored. And all they do is online, they submit an application, and then every system has to just go remove their data. It's not just our system. We remove our system and then we send it to anyone else we have connection to, integration. We just say, okay, you are obligated to remove the data in certain time frame. So that level of control of data privacy should give the peace of mind to consumers. But majority of the consumers feel, you know what, it's fine. For me, privacy and convenience is important because I know I can do my best to keep my data protected, or I can monitor it, but I prefer that's much higher. And there are consumers who would feel like, you know what, I don't care about personalization or convenience. I just don't want my data to be anywhere else, which is fine. It's their choice. And in my view, technology platforms should be able to provide that. In today's world, with advanced technology available, everything from database, how you segregate data, versus protecting the data itself, where encryption to everything, you should be in a position to provide that capabilities to consumers. And you also talked about the multi-brand. So it is important to have, there's a consumer level of segregation, and there is a manufacturer level of data segregation. So you should be able to handle both in the best possible way, which we are doing in our platform.
Okay. Great. Thank you. No, I think you're right. And I think you rightly touched upon this whole, it's not going to go virtual so early, right? I mean, it's today, something like automobile is all about touch and feel. You want to touch and feel, you want to go see it, sit inside it, probably drive around, check it out.
Yeah.
So I think it can't be digital so early. Maybe it's still going to be phygital in some form or the other, right? I mean,
that is correct. And the percentage will increase slowly. The online percentage, I will say, increase. It is creeping up slowly, but it's very, very slow. I believe there will be a point it'll kind of get and settle down. So basically, it's not going to be 100% online. I don't think it'll ever be 100% online. Right? As humans, we all are like social beings, and we want to have that touch and feel experience. And I believe there is going to be a certain point. Both the mix will be in a balance.
True, absolutely. So I think thank you, Jay. And
sure.
Maybe now maybe we can come to talk something specifically about what you people do as a platform. First of all, I think this is something that is intriguing. I'm sure you had some premise and a problem to solve when you started all this way back in, I think, 2016, if I'm right.
Correct. Yeah.
But and probably you did not obviously think that we will get through this whole phase, what we are currently going through. But looks like most of the things that you anticipated then are probably getting solved in today's era, in the post-pandemic era. So just wanted to, if you could throw some light on saying, what are the problems you were actually trying to solve? Did you really solve that, or did pandemic help you accelerate that whole thing?
Yeah, great. I think it's a great question and very important question as well. I think from a technology platform, what we were trying to solve is something I mentioned in answering one of your earlier question, is creating one single platform to bring the three key stakeholders, which is the manufacturers, the retailers, and consumers, all together in one technology platform, agnostic of what brand it is. So, and provide a win-win situation for all three. So now, stepping down one level down, what does it mean? So where the biggest as providers, which is manufacturers, all of the brands, right? It's very important for all of them to get their products out to consumers. And of course, there's a pretty good level of competition. A lot of great products, great cars with advanced level of technology, and then the way they deliver as well. So now the retailers, there are areas, new providers who deliver directly to consumers like Tesla, but still they have retail stores. That's still a retail location. And then there is also all other brands have, dealerships and retail locations globally. And it is very important to make sure these systems have been so backward decades backward. And the fragmentation is massive. And that is the most important thing. One level down, when you double click from the bigger vision, is what I mentioned earlier. The next level in terms of execution is the technology platform, where you provide to manufacturers and dealers where they can run their operations smoothly and give a digital enablement to their customers to do what they need to do, which is shopping, buying a car, selling a car, like a trading in, servicing it, the complete service experience, and then engaging with the brand that they want to engage with. So all of those capabilities we bring together in our Techion Automotive Retail Cloud platform. So I think from a pandemic perspective, definitely from early days of the pandemic, where, like I said, it just shook up all of us. No one knew how the world was going to shape up. But luckily, again, it is definitely unfortunate. There are a lot of people who got impacted. Many people I know, it's very, very, very sad from that perspective. But from a business perspective, from all of the macro things that are happening and continuing to happen, and I think the digital provided massive amount of enablement for customers. Like simple thing, what we are talking about, right? Or the medium that we are talking, Zoom. It gave like such a great platform for everyone to communicate with everyone, from their loved ones to the business associates to all of those, right? So that helped, and it helped us as well as a technology platform that is completely digital. We delivered like the zero touch, selling, zero touch servicing. All of those helped definitely accelerated our customer base, as well as for consumer shopping, the completely doing the touchless service experience, touchless sales experience. All of those continue to accelerate. So bottom line, definitely I feel pandemic accelerated our business, being that technology, being that digital, it accelerated our business significantly. We multiplied in every way, purely even from employees perspective, we more than tripled in size. Our value grew more than multiple times, I should say. Significant. We crossed, just in the middle of the pandemic, we crossed $1 billion in value. And very recently, we just crossed to $3.5 billion in value. So we are growing by leaps and bounds in every way.
Great. Thank you. And I think you're making great progress. And I know, Jay, I think we seem to be running out of time, but if you want any quick closing comments, and maybe then we can kind of, because I think your insights have been over the last, close to 20, 25 minutes have been very, very useful. We do see that I think you are really making a huge disruption in this whole platform that you're trying to build. And, I'm sure you will reach more global markets, and most of us will be happy to see you in India too. I mean, so.
Absolutely. That's definitely an interest, very strong interest. In fact, we have a very large team in our Bangalore and Chennai office. Okay. We'll be crossing 1,000 people, and then we'll be continuing to grow very rapidly there itself, just in India, right? From a customer point of view, just as a closing comments, US market is growing rapidly. We just expanded to Canada. We are looking to expand to Europe by, I would say, early next year. Asia, we've been having some pretty good conversations within some of the manufacturers in India. But timeline-wise, we still haven't made up any decision in terms of. But expansion in India would be a very nice and easy one, and it's something I'm personally very passionate about, because again, our team, since we have a large team in India, which is also growing, I think it will be a great one for our team as well. So I think it's just about a matter of time with partnership with the right manufacturer, because some of the manufacturers who we already partnered with have global presence. They are present in India as well, but it's just purely the timing has to align from both our side and their side to properly roll out our platform to the India market.
Great. Thank you.
We are definitely excited about it.
No, thank you. That'd be great. Thank you very much. And we do definitely, as I said, I'm sure most of us will look forward to kind of seeing you in India too. And our best wishes to you and your team in this journey. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Shrikant.
And thank you all, and thank you for this. And over to the host.
Shrikant, so far I've had only the opportunity of speaking to you over calls, but it was nice to have a face to the name today. Thanks so much for sharing the session, and special thanks to you for including the questions of our delegates and attendees as well. Thank you.